Hi everyone. I wanted to do a video about how not to look at events like 9/11 using numerology and things that are reversed and inverted and so on. Um, I think that this website that I'm showing you here right now is a fairly good example of how not to do it. And this is what this person has done is not entirely wrong. There's a lot of good information in here, but it's mixed in with a lot of stuff that's just goes too far. And this is not something that the way that this guy looks at the event is not something that I would advocate. Let me show you what I mean by that. Um, he goes into stuff like, all right, Muhammad's birthday is celebrated on the 11th day of the ninth month. Okay, I don't know why that would be significant. It's obviously not Muslim hijackers. Okay, 119 is the area code to Iran and Iraq. All right, it's the state of New York was the 11th state added to the Union. Afghanistan has 11 letters. So does Ramza Youssef. You know, um, it's just it just almost hurts to read this stuff. After 99 days of burning, New York City declares the World Trade Center fires are extinguished. 9 times 11 is 99. Okay, so all right, look, here's my point. If you if you just look at the raw data and you just go combing through it, like you're going through a garbage pile or something, and you're just looking for anything that can be constructed after the fact forensically to help you arrive at the conclusion that you want to come to, then yeah, you can find all kinds of stuff. There's no end to the amount of stuff that you can find to support any kind of thesis. If you wanted to suggest that 9/11 was done by lesbian Nazi hookers abducted by aliens who were forced into weight loss programs, okay, you can find numerological evidence to support that conclusion if that's what you're wanting to do, if you go about it in the same way this guy's done. This is not what I'm advocating. Here's what I'm advocating, and this is the way that I look at the evidence. Start out with a basic knowledge of occultic numerology, reversals, imagery, and inversions and stuff like that. Just a basic, very basic knowledge of it already in your head, and then just look at what's out there in terms of 9/11, and just see if anything jumps out at you. There's plenty of stuff that'll jump out at you, like Danny Lewin and his watch. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, watch that previous video. The guy with all the 11s on his watch on flight 11, seat 911, hitting a building that looked like an 11, and he's wearing a hijacker watch. Okay, now that kind of stuff, that's significant. And I think that stuff like the Supertramp album, um, which is, you're viewing through an aircraft window on the album cover. You're looking at the New York skyline, and in reverse, you've got a 9 and 11 over the World Trade Center. Another one that's really significant is David Rockefeller's watch on the April 3rd, 1967 cover of Newsweek. Stuff like that, or the actual flight numbers, 11, 77, 175, 93. What do those numbers mean to Thelemites, who are the people who follow Aleister Crowley? Okay, that kind of stuff really jumps out at you. There's almost no assembly required for that stuff. This other kind of stuff like Afghanistan has 11 letters. Okay, yeah, so what? It doesn't mean anything, and it's pointless. So what I'm suggesting is to look at the data and just see what jumps out at you, and then look for the occultic stuff in that. And when you do that, you actually find quite a lot of it. That's what's compelling, is when you find a lot and you didn't really go out digging for it. That's what's compelling to me. Now this guy's gone digging for it. He's dug deep and he's come up with just a bunch of crap. Apparently, some of his stuff is actually good. So it's a mixture of crap and good mixed in together. But but at any rate, hope I haven't been too hard on this guy. His heart's probably in the right place, but I don't really agree with the way that he's gone about this on this website. Um, Now, all that being said, just as an example of what I'm talking about, when I say how not to look at 9/11, I want to show you now an example of exactly what I mean, how you can look at the data connected to 9/11 and come literally to any kind of conclusion that you want. So here we go. I'll show you a PowerPoint on that. All of the information that you're going to see in this video is factually true. What is screwed up and discombobulated is the conclusion at the end. So I hope this illustrates what I mean when I say we've got to be very careful of how we look at this numerology stuff, not to get carried away and come to idiotic conclusions. I went digging for stuff, and after a short time, this is what I found. So hope you enjoy it, and I'll get started here. This house is the Custis Lee estate. Now, for anyone who went through the public school system, or maybe even worse, maybe you're from Detroit, you might not know what this is owing to your lack of education. And so I'll go ahead and tell you what it is. This is the home that used to be owned by Robert E. Lee. Part of this estate, or part of his estate, is today Arlington National Cemetery, and also sitting on land that used to belong to him is the Pentagon. So in other words, the site of the Pentagon today, the land that the Pentagon is built on, used to be owned by Robert E. Lee back before the Civil War, and this was his house. This is the Custis Lee estate. All right, so that connects Robert E. Lee to the Pentagon attack, and Custis Lee is 11 letters. All right, but that's not all. Arlington, Virginia, which is where this is, that's also 11 letters. So this looks very suspicious. There's something to this, you know. All right, we've already connected Robert E. Lee to the Pentagon attack. Let's see if we can connect him to the attack in New York. All right. Now, I have some friends who have a family member who actually is a faculty member at this university. And I know for a fact that there is a faculty member on this university who is living in a very old house on this university. The house was actually designed and built by Robert E. Lee when he was in the Army Corps of Engineers before the Civil War. So a much younger Robert E. Lee designed and built the house that a faculty member is currently living in. Robert E. Lee is very connected to this university in New York. This university is only a couple of miles away from the World Trade Center site. If you were sitting there at that university, maybe on the top of a tall building or something, you would probably have been able to see the Twin Towers from this university. So that's how close it is. So that connects him to New York. Now, what can we do to connect him to Shanksville, Pennsylvania? All right. Well, let's see. What you're looking at here is the Google Maps location of the Gettysburg National Military Park. Gettysburg is where, again, for those of you who went through the public school system or maybe are from Detroit or Newark or something, Gettysburg is where Robert E. Lee lost his biggest battle to George Meade, the Union general. This is in Pennsylvania. At the location of this white dot that you see on the screen, there's a monument that is called the High Water Mark of the Confederacy Monument or something like that. That was basically as far as Pickett's charge got. All right. This was Robert E. Lee's biggest defeat in his entire military career. On the other end of this line, 90 miles away, is the exact precise location of the Shanksville crash of Flight 93. So, no kidding. The actual hole in the ground in Shanksville is exactly 90 miles from the high water mark of the Confederacy Monument on the Gettysburg National Military Park site. So 9-0 in numerology and the occult is really just 9. So then you have the 9 of 9/11. So we have all three September 11th sites connected now to Robert E. Lee. All right. Here's another one. George Meade, who defeated Robert E. Lee at Gettysburg. His name is 11 letters. All right, here's some other 11s. The Confederacy. Confederacy is a word of 11 letters. Old Dominion, as in Virginia, the Old Dominion state, it's 11 letters. All right. Here's another interesting thing. Robert is just Trevor backwards. Trevor, according to the Urban Dictionary, is a super cool guy. So what kind of conclusion can we draw from this? Well, of course, we can conclude that 9/11 was pulled off by bitter Confederate sympathizers who thought Robert E. Lee was a great guy and who were still angry about his loss to George Meade at Gettysburg. You know, this is the kind of idiocy and lunacy that you can arrive at if you look at numerology in the wrong way. What I'm trying to illustrate is using numerology and all these reversals and stuff like that. You can take any set of data that you want and you can come to any conclusion that you want. And so we have to be very careful about how we do this. So my idea of how we should do this is you start out with a basic knowledge of numerology and the occult in your head to start with, and you just kind of casually look at the evidence and see what jumps out at you. And when you do that, you don't even have to dig deep, and a lot of stuff really jumps out at you. So that's the stuff we should be focusing on. So I hope that this helps in terms of helping you to understand how I look at this kind of stuff and also how we should not look at it. And thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy my other videos too. Thank you.